The headlights of my car cut through the darkness, illuminating the road ahead, but my thoughts kept returning to what I had seen. The woman by the church, the flickering car. What did they mean? Suddenly, a loud thud echoed from the trunk, jolting me from my thoughts. I gasped, my heart racing again. I glanced in my mirror, half expecting to see someone crouching behind me, but there was nothing, just an empty road stretching endlessly into darkness. I cursed myself for letting my imagination run wild. I took a deep breath, trying to focus. My apartment was only a few minutes away, but it felt miles distant. I turned on the radio, hoping the familiar oldies would ease my mind, but the static hissed back, mixing with my anxious thoughts. Then I saw it, another flicker of light to the side. My heart dropped. This one was different. It pulsed rhythmically, almost like a winking eye. I slowed down again, feeling compelled to investigate. Minutes felt like hours as I pulled off the road and stopped the car. The light was coming from a tall wooden sign, barely visible through the surrounding trees. I stepped out, casting glances in every direction, feeling exposed in the cold night air. The sign read Old Mill Creek, but the glow was coming from a lantern hanging on one of the branches nearby. I took a cautious step closer, my pulse quickening. As I approached, I noticed something lying in the snow beneath the lantern. It was a small white scarf. I bent down to pick it up, the fabric soft against my fingers, but stained with something dark. I froze for a second, trying to understand if it was blood or something else. My stomach twisted in knots. Then I heard it again, a rustle not far away. I turned to Buckley, my breath catching in my throat. I squinted into the darkness, straining to spot anything. A shadow shifted near the trees. Panic washed over me, and I dropped the scarf, stumbling backwards. "Hello?" I called out, my voice wavering. Silence hung thick in the air. Something felt wrong. Shadows danced in my peripheral vision, and I turned to my car, feeling the urge to flee. But then I caught a glimpse of movement. From between the trees came the figure of a woman. My heart raced. It was her, the woman from before. This time I could see her face, pale and determined. She was staring straight at me, her expression unreadable. I thought I'd scream, but no sound came out. Instead, instinct kicked in. I ran towards the car, my feet slipping in the snow. The engine roared to life as I jumped inside, the headlights illuminating everything around me. But the woman was gone. I looked around, shaking. That was when I noticed something in the passenger seat, a face mask with the same white, delicate fabric as the scarf. My breath caught in my throat, fear pinching at my chest. Whatever was happening on this road felt like it was only escalating. As I put the car into drive, I knew I couldn't ignore it any longer.
I had to find out what was really going on and what this woman wanted from me. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles white against the dark leather. The engine hummed softly, but the sound felt inadequate in the face of what had just happened. I wasn't even sure where I was heading anymore. I just needed to get away. As I pulled back onto the road, my heart pounded in time with the fading glow of the lantern behind me. Every bump felt amplified, every shadow threatening. I forced myself to breathe. I needed clarity. I should have just turned around and gone home, but curiosity gnawed at me. What did that woman want, and why did the fabric of the mask feel like a warning? Each turn seemed to stretch the darkness longer. I flipped on my high beams, hoping for better visibility. The trees lining the roadway were imposing, their bare branches clawing at the night sky. When I glanced in the rearview mirror, I half expected to see the woman following me, but the road remained empty, silent except for the low rumble of my car. Then I saw it, a figure in white standing by the side of the road. I slammed the brakes, the tires screeching against the pavement. My heart dropped as I recognized the woman again, her pale face eerily illuminated by my headlights. Just moments ago I had felt her presence, and now there she was. "What do you want?" I shouted, my voice shaky but desperate. To my surprise, she stepped closer, her eyes locked onto mine. I could feel fear coiling around my chest again, but there was something else in her gaze. It was as if she was pleading with me to understand. "Please," she mouthed, the words silent but heavy with urgency. I was about to roll down the window when the trunk of my car thudded again. I spun around, pulse racing. There it was, that sound like a dark promise. Whatever was in there was restless. A new wave of panic washed over me. I took a deep breath and turned my attention back to her. "What do you want? Why are you following me?" But as soon as I focused on her again, she was gone, just vanished from sight, as if the night had swallowed her whole. But before I could react, I heard it again, the trunk slamming shut. My mind raced. It couldn't be. Could someone else be in the trunk? I pressed my foot down on the gas, propelling myself forward, desperate to escape. The stinging cold blew against my face as I sped away from that lingering dread. Then, everything went dark. The headlights flickered and died, plunging me into total blackness. I swerved, heart racing, praying I wouldn't crash. I pulled to a stop, panic flooding my senses. I grabbed my phone, but there was no signal. Shouting out into the night felt futile. No one was around to hear me. I took one last deep breath and sighed, heart racing as I leaned back against the seat. Suddenly, a faint light appeared in the distance, illuminating a small cabin just off the road. Should I go explore?
Before I could think it through, I opened the door, stepping into the frigid air. The flickering silhouette of the cabin beckoned. Whatever was happening, I knew it wasn't finished yet. I took a step forward, my instincts screaming at me to stop. But curiosity pushed me on. I had to know what waited inside. I approached the cabin slowly, the wooden structure creaking in the cold breeze. The door hung loosely on its hinges, swaying slightly, as if inviting me in. I hesitated, a chilling sensation creeping up my spine. It felt wrong to go inside, but the alternative was facing the dark, empty road. With a shaky breath, I stepped through the threshold. The floorboards groaned under my weight, a reminder that this place had seen better days. The dim light flickered from an oil lamp on a small table in the corner, casting eerie shadows against the walls. Dust motes danced in the air, and I could taste the mustiness, a sign of neglect. "Hello?" My voice bounced off the walls, sounding foreign in the stillness. No answer, just silence. I moved further into the cabin, my eyes scanning for anything out of place. Old furniture sat haphazardly, a worn couch and a fireplace filled with ash. But what caught my attention was a small suitcase resting against the wall, as if it had been left in haste. Suddenly, I heard a rustle behind me. I spun around, heart racing. The door I had just come through slammed shut. The sound echoed ominously, and I lunged toward it, but it wouldn't budge. I pushed and pulled, panic swelling inside me. "Let me out!" I screamed. Desperately, I turned back to the room, my eyes landing on the suitcase. I wasn't sure what compelled me, but I felt drawn to it. Maybe it held answers, or perhaps whatever was lurking outside these walls. I walked over and knelt beside it. The lock was flimsy, and with a few tugs, it popped open. Inside, I found clothes neatly folded, a collection of old photographs, and a small, tarnished locket. I picked it up, my fingers brushing against the cool metal. As I opened it, I froze. The image was of the woman I had seen on the road, her face framed by a smile. The cabin felt alive, the air thickening with tension. I was not alone. Someone had been here, and whatever they left behind was heavier than just belongings. It was a warning. Before I could fully process the shock, there was a knock at the door. My breath quickened. "Who's there?" I called. But the answer was a heavy silence. Then, without warning, the sound of footsteps echoed from the porch, and they were getting closer. I glanced back at the suitcase. Should I hide it? My mind raced. Maybe I could slip out a window, but the only one I saw was boarded up. Panic surged as I heard the doorknob rattle. That's when I saw it. The flickering light outside reflected a shadow moving past the window. Somebody was there. My heart pounded in my chest as I prepared to face whatever was coming. The doorknob rattled again, this time more forcefully. I backed away, instinctively clutching the locket tightly in my palm. My mind raced, weighing my options. There had to be another way out. I scanned the room, searching for an escape, but all I saw were dim corners and fading memories. Then, the footsteps stopped. Silence enveloped me, thick and suffocating. I barely dared to breathe, fearing it would betray my presence. Just as I thought I had imagined the movement outside, a voice broke the stillness. Raspy and low, it called out, "I know you're in there." My stomach dropped. Who was this person? Did they have something to do with the suitcase? I felt an overwhelming urge to hide, but there was nowhere to go. The cabin felt small, and the shadows seemed to close in around me. I glanced at the fireplace, but it was empty. Then I remembered the suitcase. It could hide me, at least my body. I knelt down and slipped behind it, hoping to be invisible. "Come on, let me in." The voice was closer now, gritty with impatience. "I won't hurt you if you don't freak out." Freak out? That was precisely what I was doing. My heart hammered in my ears as I peeked around the suitcase. The figure was standing just outside the door, a silhouette backlit by the dim porch light. I couldn't make out any details. All I saw was a strong posture, arms crossed, shifting impatiently. I held my breath, waiting for what felt like an eternity. "I know you can hear me," the voice continued, a hint of annoyance creeping in. "You're safer with me than by yourself." I squeezed the locket tightly, the metal digging into my palm. It was cold comfort, but I needed to think. Should I reveal myself? What if this was the person who had left the suitcase behind? What if they were dangerous?
Just then, a loud bang echoed, reverberating through the cabin. My heart shot up into my throat. Were they trying to break in? A quick glance at the door revealed it rattling violently against its frame. "Hey," the voice called out again, firm and urgent. "I'm not here to hurt you. I need your help." Help? What did they mean? My thoughts spiraled. I had a feeling I was caught in something much bigger than myself. The world outside that door felt detached, like a fading memory. My focus shifted back to the suitcase. If this person wasn't a threat but meant to help, I needed to know the truth. Swallowing my fear, I slowly took a step out from behind the suitcase. "Are you really going to leave me hanging?" The figure pushed against the door again, and it creaked ominously. I had no choice. I took a deep breath and called out, "What do you want?" There was a pause. Then the response was swift. I didn't have time to explain. "There are things in this place you need to understand. I can't let you go until you know the truth." Before I could reply, the door burst open and the figure stumbled in. I braced myself, ready for whatever came next. Now standing face to face, I realized things were about to get a lot more complicated.
The figure that entered was taller than I expected, his features obscured by the dim light. I could make out a sharp jawline and dark hair, but his eyes were hidden in the shadows. He closed the door behind him, creating a barrier that felt heavy between us. "Listen," he said, urgency lacing his voice. "You're not safe here. Are you here? What do you want?" He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident on his face. "I need to take you somewhere. You have to trust me." His voice echoed in the stillness, and I felt the weight of his words. But trust? That felt impossible. "Why should I trust you?" I shot back. "I don't even know who you are." "My name is Ethan," he said, stepping closer. "And what you found in that suitcase is critical. It's not just some random junk. It's part of something much larger." "What do you mean?" My stomach tightened at the mention of the suitcase. "What's in it?" Ethan hesitated. "I can't explain everything right now, but you need to understand there are people looking for it, people who won't stop until they find you." My heart raced. Looking for what? His gaze darted to the door as though he expected someone to burst in. "The suitcase. It contains information, something that reveals the truth about this place, and about you." "About me?" I felt a chill crawl down my spine. "How do you know this? What do you know about me?" Before he could answer, the sound of feet approached the porch again, heavy and deliberate. I froze. Had he led them right to me? Ethan seemed to read my mind as he glanced toward the door, eyes wide. "Get back," he hissed, pushing me toward the kitchen. "Now!" I stumbled, barely managing to keep my balance. The urgency in his tone sent panic coursing through me. He shoved me behind the refrigerator, and I pressed myself against the cold metal, trying not to make a sound. Ethan positioned himself in front of the door, fists clenched like an animal ready to fight. "Whatever happens, don't move," he whispered. I nodded, but felt the tremor in my limbs. This was not a time to actually trust. The door rattled, and my heart raced. It was too late to back down. Who could be out there? I held my breath as the handle turned with a slow creak. The door inched open, revealing just a sliver of darkness. Then, a loud bang sounded against the door, slamming it open. The intruder stood framed by the doorway, towering and ominous. "Ethan, you can't keep hiding!" That voice sent a jolt of recognition through me. I had heard it before. Ethan turned, panic etched on his face. In that moment, I knew everything was about to change. Ethan's body tensed. "You shouldn't have come here," he shouted, his voice steady but strained. I could see the muscles in his jaw tightening. The intruder stepped into the room, casting a long shadow across the floor. I knew him. Lucas, the guy from the diner. My heart sank. What was he doing here? "Where's the suitcase, Ethan?" Lucas demanded, his tone cold and menacing. "Hand it over, and we can make this easy." Ethan took a step forward, his fists still clenched. "You don't understand what you're messing with, Lucas. Just leave." "Not without it." Lucas's eyes fell on me, narrowing in recognition. "And who's this?" Panic surged through me. Ethan's warning echoed in my mind. "Stay behind me," he whispered, his voice low. "What do you want with her?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Lucas laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that made my skin crawl. "She's a player in this game now. You both are." Ethan's jaw dropped slightly. "You don't have to drag her into this," he said. "It's not her fault. Just let her go." Lucas shrugged, as if he didn't care. "That's not how this works. You're both tied to what's about to happen. The suitcase has information that can change everything. We can't let that fall into the wrong hands." My mind raced. I needed answers. What was in that suitcase? How was I tied to any of this? Ethan reached toward me, his eyes pleading. "We need to leave, now." I hesitated, my gut telling me I couldn't trust either of them. Before I could react, Lucas lunged forward, reaching toward Ethan. I caught a glimpse of the glinting object in his hand, a knife. My breath caught in my throat. "Ethan!" I shouted, as fear gripped me. I grabbed the nearest thing I could find, a kitchen knife from the counter, and raced toward them.
Time seemed to slow as Ethan dodged Lucas's first swing. I could see the determination on his face, a strength I hadn't noticed before. I closed my eyes for a brief moment, wishing for it all to be over, wishing for clarity, wishing for safety. Then everything erupted. The sound of metal clashing filled the air, sharp and violent. Both men stumbled, and in that split second, I saw an opportunity. I lunged forward, knife raised, ready to defend myself and Ethan. But just as I was about to strike, the door behind Lucas burst open again, and a wave of darkness flooded the room. More figures poured in, their silhouettes elongated in the doorway. "Get down!" someone yelled, and adrenaline shot through me. Just as I dropped to the ground, I heard a gunshot. The world turned chaotic. I scrambled to the side, instinct blocking out my thoughts. Groans filled the air as I tried to understand what was happening. Ethan's voice broke through the chaos, but it didn't register. I was too lost in the moment. Then came a sharp pain in my shoulder as I felt hands grab me, pulling me away from the scene unfolding. "Run!" Ethan's voice commanded, cutting through the noise. That's when I saw it, a small glint in the corner of the room. The suitcase. It lay forgotten, almost mocking me. There was no choice. I had to go back. I sprinted toward the suitcase, ignoring the chaos around me.
Every instinct screamed to flee, but my gut told me I needed to see what was inside. I reached it, my fingers trembling as I unlatched the clasp. A sharp gasp escaped my lips as I swung it open. Inside lay stacks of documents, photographs, and what looked like various electronic devices. I quickly glanced around, hoping no one was watching, and immediately grabbed a handful of papers. My heart raced as I thumbed through them. Numbers, names, and strange symbols filled the pages. Then a figure lunged toward me, pulling me from the suitcase. I was yanked backward, and the papers tumbled from my hands, scattering across the floor like fallen leaves. "No!" I screamed, frantically trying to collect them. "Get her out!" Ethan shouted from somewhere in the fray, his voice strained and urgent. Suddenly, the room exploded. I didn't know if it was gunfire or a flashbang, but it was deafening. The lights flickered violently, and I lost my balance, collapsing onto the floor. In the chaos, faces blurred around me. Shouting, the clash of bodies, and the cracking of wood filled my ears. "Help me!" I cried, but my plea seemed swallowed by the chaos. As I scrambled to my feet, I felt a sharp tug on my arm. A woman I didn't recognize pulled me toward the door. "This way!" she yelled over the din, panic in her eyes. The urgency in her voice snapped me to attention. I instinctively followed her, the need for escape drowning out my questions. We darted through the doorway, and she shoved me ahead. I stumbled into a narrow hallway lined with doors. I wanted to look back, but I kept moving. I had to trust someone. "Where are we going?" I managed to ask, breathing hard. "Just keep running," she shot back, glancing behind us. I could see shadows creeping through the doorway we had just fled. We burst through a side door and stumbled into an unfamiliar room filled with crates and old equipment. I caught my breath for a moment, but the woman was already scouring the area. She turned to me, her expression serious. "We need to find a way out of here. They'll be on us any second." I scanned the room, my heart hammering. "What's going on? Who are they?" "Not now. We have to focus. Do you trust me?" The urgency in her voice made my stomach churn. I didn't know her, but there was no choice. "Yes," I said hesitantly. "Good." She pointed to a small window at the far end. "We can escape through there, but it's tight." Before we could move, the door we just entered burst open again. A man stood silhouetted in the doorway, and the moment I saw the weapon raised in his hand, panic surged through me. "Go!" I shouted, pushing the woman toward the window. As I turned to face the threat, time slowed. The chaos from before faded, and a single question burned in my mind. What was really in that suitcase? Then darkness enveloped me as I dove toward the window, my fate hanging in the balance. I hit the ground hard, rolling to avoid the shattered glass of the window frame. The icy air bit at my skin as I landed outside, breathless. I glanced back just in time to see the woman leap through the opening, landing beside me with a thud. "Run!" she shouted, rising quickly. I scrambled to my feet, the echo of gunfire ringing in my ears. We darted away from the building, the cold wind slicing through my clothes. I had no idea where we were headed, but the instinct to survive took over. I followed her, the adrenaline pushing me forward. "Why is this happening?" I gasped, trying to keep pace. "Too many questions. Just focus on getting away," she snapped, her eyes scanning the area. I could hear shouting behind us, footsteps pounding against the ground. My breath came out in quick gasps, and panic crept back in. This wasn't just an escape, it felt like a chase, a hunt. We veered around a corner, and I could see a cluster of parked cars up ahead. I instinctively ran toward them, hoping one might be unlocked. As we approached, I noticed a silver sedan with the door slightly ajar. "This one," I yelled, rushing toward it.
"Whoa, wait," she shouted. "We can't just jump into someone's car." But her voice was drowned out by the unmistakable sound of footsteps growing closer. "Do you want to die? Get in," I insisted, shoving the door open. She hesitated for only a moment before jumping inside. I followed, slamming the door shut just as I heard shouting from behind. "Start it," I yelled, my fingers trembling as I fumbled with the seatbelt. "I can't. I don't know how to drive this. Just turn the key." She flung her hands toward the ignition. I could feel my heart racing as she turned it. It roared to life, but the thrill of impending escape was cut short by the sound of footsteps approaching our vehicle. "Go! Just drive!" I screamed, feeling trapped as I watched shadows moving toward us. She pressed the gas pedal, and the car lurched forward. I had no idea how we weren't already caught, but I didn't care. We sped out of the lot, leaving the chaos behind, the unfamiliar buildings racing by in a blur. "Where to?" she asked, her eyes wide with shock as she gripped the wheel. "Just anywhere," I replied, still trying to catch my breath. "Just drive until it's safe." She nodded, but then I noticed her staring ahead, her face paling. "What now?" My eyes followed her gaze to a man standing in the middle of the road, a strange, unsettling calmness enveloping him. He wore a dark coat, and his expression was eerily composed. I felt a chill roll down my spine. "Stop! Don't hit him!" I yelled, but it was too late. The car slammed into him with a sickening thud. The world outside went silent. I turned to look at her, but I could see she was just as confused as I was. The man stood, unharmed, his eyes fixed on us, almost as if he were waiting for something. Then everything went dark again as the headlights flickered off. I couldn't understand what had just happened, and before I could voice my confusion, the car came to a halt.
"Are you okay?" I asked, my voice shaky. But then I saw it, the suitcase we had left behind, sitting right next to the man. And something deep inside me twisted as I realized this wasn't over. Someone else was still in the game. I blinked back to reality as the car's engine thrummed in silence. The man remained there, an eerie stillness wrapping around him like a cloak as he stood next to the suitcase. I couldn't shake the fear that crept back into my veins. In that moment, everything hung on a precipice, teetering between undeniable dread and unacceptable truth. "What do we do?" I asked, my voice quaking despite my best efforts to sound calm. "Just stay still," the woman, whose name I still didn't know, whispered, her eyes darting between the man and the shadows around us. The silence felt overwhelming, as if the very air held its breath. I stole glances at the man. He hadn't moved an inch. He was almost unnaturally calm. I could feel my pulse racing, the pounding a steady reminder of the chaos from earlier. My mind raced through options, desperate to find clarity in the storm of confusion that engulfed me. "Go, now," I urged, but she seemed entranced. The man's gaze didn't waver from our car, his eyes chillingly bright. Suddenly he took a step closer, his face illuminated by the fading glow from the now inactive headlights. "You shouldn't have come," he said, in a voice that cascaded through the car like a haunting melody. "But it's not too late to turn back." "Turn back?" I echoed, fear slick on my tongue. "What does that mean?" "What's in the suitcase is dangerous." He gestured lightly to it, as if it was an afterthought, the kind of thing that could change your life in an instant. "People are looking for you. You have something they want." My heart dropped. I glanced at the woman beside me. Her face was tense, scanned with doubt. "How do you know us?" she demanded, voice strained. But he simply smiled, a hint of amusement playing at the corner of his lips. "I've been watching. You're more connected to this than you realize." "What do you mean?" I pressed, my throat tightening. "The history of this place runs deep." He stepped closer, an imposing figure shadowing the car. "And you're the key to it all." Before I could answer, reality jolted me back as I felt movement at the back of the car. A figure darted past, catching my eye. Ethan. He approached, panting as if he'd just run the length of a marathon. "There's no time," Ethan shouted, desperation etched into his features. The man's gaze shifted to him, eyes narrowing. "You should not have left," he murmured, almost to himself, like a dark portent. "It's not just about you anymore," Ethan shot back. "Get in." The connection clicked then. I twisted the pieces in my mind, piecing together the jigsaw of truths as the weight of realization crashed down like an avalanche. Whatever was in that suitcase was tied to my very existence. Choices unfolded before us, each one laced with danger. "Go," Ethan urged, his voice both a command and a plea. But I could still feel the man's gaze fixated on me, like he was unraveling secrets only I could comprehend.
Questions bubbled to the surface. Was the suitcase really dangerous, or were we the danger to it? How was I involved? With one last resolute nod to Ethan, I gripped the door handle. The urge to run pulled at me, yet fear anchored me to my seat. "Wait!" Ethan cried, but I flung open the door, stepping out with both determination and reluctance. "There's no escape from this," the man warned, expression inscrutable. I took a deep breath. Maybe not, but I need to face it. The moment shattered the tension that had gripped the night, and in an instant Ethan joined me by my side. "We can't let them win," he said, an edge of defiance in his voice. The silhouettes of the past merged with the fears of the present as I turned to the man, standing there still, the suitcase glinting in the moonlight. The future unfolded like a fragile thread, but something felt irrevocably bound to me. "What do I need to do?" I asked, words escaping like a whispered prayer in the depth of night. The man's smile returned. This time it felt more unsettling than before. "Let the truth guide you, and perhaps in doing so, you will find freedom." Somehow I sensed this was just the beginning. The road ahead was still tangled, and the questions remained open. But now I had a choice, not just to flee, but to confront whatever awaited me, to spark a fire against the darkness threatening to engulf it all. I turned back toward the car, heart thundering, my destiny unfurling before me in an intricate dance between fear and revelation. The shadowy figures lingered further down the road, but we were no longer merely running. I felt a tingling sensation of purpose, a strange kind of energy propelling me forward amid uncertainty. As we drove away, I could still feel that man's gaze following us, a lingering acknowledgement of the weight of what was now inevitable. My heart raced, questions churned. What other hidden truths lay ahead, waiting to be uncovered? And was the line between the supernatural and natural truly as blurred as it seemed? Even now, the answers felt just beyond my grasp. I had escaped in one way, but another part of me knew this was only the beginning of the unraveling. I moved forward, a sense of resolve settling in my chest. Whatever the truth was, I was ready to face it.